Do you actually own another shirt? I'm surprised I don't get that comment at all because I own like 4 of these t-shirts, these like weird grayish bluish t-shirts. And then I have those Realtree uh under well that they're the mesh, not the mesh, but the like the odor free whatever material, but the
Oh yeah.
centers are all the same. They're that gray breakup pattern. It's the sleeves that are different. I own 3 or 4 of those. It's like I'm really surprised somebody hasn't gone, why do you always wear the same 4 shirts besides being a guy? um
Well, well, this shirt's brand new. It fits. It was the first. It was like the second or third shirt that I grabbed out of the dryer after tumbling them to get wrinkles and and hair. And I was like, oh, the Jurassic Park shirt, good enough, and I threw it on.
so guy shit.
The guy answered.
Hmm.
It's like, yeah, it
It's
just came out of the
comfortable and
dryer.
it's
It's
clean.
comfortable and it's clean. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
Nailed
I,
that
I,
one. I have to remember
Wait,
that
they have
I
to be clean?
no. I have to remember that you guys can't see
No,
me.
they
So
just
when I
gotta
start
pass the
talking with
sniff
my
test,
hands,
that's it.
when I start talking with my hands, literally the only person everyone can see is Steven. Unless you're watching the freaking
Okay, I talk with my hands all the time.
Yeah.
You guys never see it.
No, that's true. True that. All right.
I'm actually upside down right now.
Why the fuck are you upside down?
No, just no. It's,
I've actually managed to strap my entire living room to the ceiling.
I'm talented.
I am absolutely out of it. Work was interesting today. So, the individual that I thought would actually be giving me a hard time about me being promoted, has been giving me a hard time, like instantaneously.
Oh wow,
Yes, this is gonna end well for you.
wow.
So, I knew
Okay.
I knew it was coming. I told my boss last night. He called me. He called me to give me the news about getting bumped up and all that fun stuff. And I was like, you know, there's gonna be this individual that's not gonna be happy about that, right? Like at all. He goes, "Oh, I
Why?
know."
'Cause-
Okay.
I don't. I mean, why? Because the guy's technically been there longer, but
He's
he's
an
kind of a
egotistical maniac that definitely has the most experience, definitely is the most qualified, and definitely can do everything better than anybody else can.
But
Every time
Sounds like me.
every time he's corrected me, he's been wrong.
ouch.
He can't manage. So we track our proficiency like what just happened? Oh, we track our proficiency like we're flat rate, but we're not. We're hourly. He can't manage to keep his proficiency above 50%.
Ouch.
Oh,
So meaning 50% of the time when he's there collecting money, he's making money for the store. 50% of the time.
No. So I guess that it's still positive. It's just
Right. Well, technically, see, it's statistically, I should say, not technically. Statistically, a shop needs to be above 65% to be profitable.
hey Luke, where's your camera? You had a camera on the first or second episode. You haven't had it on ever since.
It's
I
because
don't
he's
show
got a
the
face
camera.
for radio and he doesn't want to show it.
Heck, yes, that's exactly
Wuss.
what I was
Was
gonna say. Where's
Wuss.
your camera at, Seth? Oh,
it's on stream.
It's
You
on
guys-
Twitch.
He's always
My,
there.
my camera's on Twitch.
My camera's
Don't
on
make me a
Twitch.
bunch of excuses. Hang on. I'll set it up.
Because you're a bit of a listener. You're more of a listener than a talker, and I feel like I can listen. I can pay attention to your reactions and be more engaged if I see you, because you're a better listener than me. I'm more of a talker. So
We hadn't noticed.
Yeah. Nope.
Wait,
never noticed.
Never noticed.
you mean that chaos is quite possibly the reason that we all wanted to start a podcast? Oh, I never saw that coming.
So it's not Elmo. It has nothing to do with Elmo.
No, it has nothing to do with Elmo. That video's up. That video's live, by the way. That's the most chaotic thing I've
Oh,
ever
it's up?
freaking done. Oh
I
yeah,
gotta watch
it's up.
it.
Oh my god. I rewatched it in its entirety just to be just because. Like, and halfway through it I was like, "Oh god. And do I really want to upload this?" I was like, "Yes," because I said I would, but do I really want to upload this? I'm going to, and I did it.
I mean, we kept it mostly PG-13.
Nobody gives it. Nobody cares what you think, Mickey. There's a couple parts in there that even knowing they were coming and rewatching it, I was still dying laughing sitting here again. Like, oh god, it caught me off guard rewatching it just as much as it did when it happened. Nobody cares what you think, Mickey. Oh man, not as chaotic as when Minnie comes home. She's a bitch. Feel sorry for the guy. Chambers, what's up, brother?
There's the man, the myth,
What's going
legend.
on?
I like your backdrop. I really like your backdrop.
Do you?
Is that a Liberty by chance?
Oh, that's
Yes,
oh,
it
that's
is.
oh, nice. That's right.
I might be slightly chipped. I'm not gonna lie about
Well,
that.
think about it this way, Luke. I'm still like where I gained a lot of weight. I'm still working on getting it off. I've gotten some off, and I'm working on getting more. It's just taking time. So imagine me where I'm like insecure about that. I'm working on it, so it's not like I'm not doing anything, but it's going to take time. But I'm just kind of like, you know what? It is what it is. But at least I'm working on it. You know.
My one of my coworkers who I like a lot. We had a meetup today, and he goes, "Hey,
Oh,
I met with my other coworker, and he's like, you look old enough to be her dad." And I was like, "She's 5 years older than me," and we both started busting up laughing. I'm like, thanks. You know, some of us age well, others don't. Anyways, yeah.
Well, imagine me like when I was at my ideal weight, and I was amongst early 20s, even downward, even teenagers and high schoolers when I was at tech school. One kid thought I was a senior in high school. I mean,
You're like, excuse me?
yeah, I was like, what? I mean, that's a little extreme, but most people, more often than not, they figured I was around 25, 26, mid 20s, mid to maybe late 20s, but I was sitting there at like 30, 32, 33.
So you went in late then.
Oh yeah, no, this is Tulsa Tech. It was after I got out.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. But anybody can go there. I mean,
Wait, you said tech school, and my head went to right after basic.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that tech school, I was
yeah,
25.
he did that too.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, you were
That tech school, I
you were
was
the same
25.
age as my buddy Bailey. He got out probably around the same time you did. He went to
Yeah.
the army.
Because I
see.
was a little late.
He's
Basic.
been
I was
out
25.
3 years now,
That's close to me.
something like that.
Well, I mean, like I'm just a little bit more than that. I got out in 2017. All right, I
Nice.
officially separated.
Nice. All right, what are we talking about tonight, boys?
Well, Mike and I were talking about the other night, and I was like, you know what? That's a real fun, very. There's so many different things to go over when it comes to, and because we all, once again, this is all stuff we grew up with one way or another. First-person shooters, like all the way through time.
All the way through time.
Contra,
Yeah.
baby.
Contra.
Yeah, I don't think it's a first-person shooter, but okay.
No,
It-
imagine if they did
it's a
first-person
shooter.
Contra.
True.
Sure, why not?
So, favorite of all time, or what we started on? I think what we started on, favorite of all time, or not favorite of all time. I think what we started on is all going to be probably pretty similar. Maybe.
You know what? I'll give Luke a olive branch here. You could say like Duke Nukem, which was originally a side-scrolling shooter
I played that.
that turned into Duke Nukem 3D, which was a first-person shooter. So it didn't start off as an FPS franchise. It started off as a 2D side-scrolling franchise.
Doom. Except I didn't play Doom until I got a bootleg copy of it a couple of years, or probably more than a couple of years after it came out. Where did I purchase it?
I guess we were kind of talking about how it's amazing how like basically some of the milestones of first person shooters that we saw throughout time. Like let's say, I mean, obviously the grandfather being essentially the grandfather being Wolfenstein back in
Oh yeah.
that was like 91, 92.
Wasn't Doom first?
Yep.
Doom was after
No.
that from the same
Was it?
people.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein,
Wolfenstein-
I'm pretty sure predated it.
Yeah. Wolfenstein. If you look at it, it's like, it makes sense. If you look at it, Wolfenstein has very much dated graphics, even compared to Doom 1. Well, Doom 1 and Doom 2 look the same. They just added more content, more levels to do. It's the same. It looks exactly the same. So it's not like they didn't that they updated it with content, not so much like a different graphics engine or something. So Doom and Doom 2 basically look the same. But Wolfenstein, you look at that, Doom is a big step up from Wolfenstein visually and
Big.
technologically.
Okay, yeah, exactly. The year before Wolfenstein 3D released in 1992. The year before Doom.
And that is one that Luke jokingly said Contra, but really Wolfenstein would apply to Luke because he talked about playing Wolfenstein forever ago. So that
Oh,
applies
yeah.
to Luke directly.
Yeah.
Wolfenstein
It's also my
was
first
my first
shooter,
love.
too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Wolfenstein is considered is pretty much the grandfather of first-person shooters, but Doom was the one, especially because of firmware or shareware and everything, and it was kind of went viral at the time, viral of those days, where all of a sudden all these people were, and actually it's also part of what made the market of wanting a personal computer more common than ever. Was I want to be able to play Doom, and so you got a computer to play Doom, and that was 93 when the first Doom came out, 95 I believe when Doom 2 came out, 94, 95, but
Kickstarted an entire freaking genre.
yes, even though Wolfenstein was the first and it did well, but Doom is what really kicked it off. That's what truly kicked it off.
See, and
Man.
I couldn't play Doom when it first came out because it had me freaked out too much.
Floating brains and everything.
Oh yeah, Doom.
Yeah,
You're literally
It
in
was
hell.
it was too much. It was just too much for me to take in.
So
When it
yeah,
first
so
came
yeah, I wouldn't have played the first Doom until like 2004, 2005 maybe. So literally like 12, 13 years later.
Gotcha.
Oh man, I played it on a. I played the first time I ever touched it. It was on a. Let's see, no, that computer. See, we had a DOS. We had a DOS computer. I can't
Das
remember the
Boot?
brand of the computer, but it was. It only had its OS was DOS, so it didn't even have Windows yet. So it was all command line interface. The first computer, but we only had that for like a few weeks, and then my dad I don't know how he figured it out, how he heard about it, saw it, whatever. We ended up getting rid of that one immediately and got a Epson, 8 megabyte Epson
Ooh.
and monitor combo that had Windows 95 on it.
Oh.
So that was our first real PC that we used a lot and had for a number of years. And I played
That was a
Doom
good PC.
1, or I played Doom 2. I played Doom 1, a demo of Doom 1. I didn't have the whole thing, but Doom 2, our friend of the family brought over a stack of floppy disks about this tall, and he installed the game through the floppy disk drive on the computer.
3.5 megabytes at a time.
Yeah, and he had it copied through shareware, so he just gave it to us on the stack of not the floppy disks that were like this big, that were like this big, but like the ones that were like about that big, and they were sturdy, they were hard plastic.
About
The hard
stack of
plastic one,
those.
yeah, about as tall
That was the
about
that was
as
the
tall as a
evolution.
playing card, but more square.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and those were the newer floppy disks. They called them floppy disks, but the word the floppy came from, they used to be literally like big floppy.
Oh, I remember the originals.
Well,
Yeah.
if you broke one of those open, the media that data was stored on was literally floppy. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So after he installed it on there, and that's how I figured out, because he taught us how. You go to DOS, you enter in CD/Doom, and then you type in Doom again, and it boots up the game. And that was that was my first, and that was how I understood how to operate DOS and command line interface was in order to access Doom, and I played it on my keyboard where like space bar was open doors, control was fire, all the arrow keys are movement, and I played that for years that way. Doom 2.
Hmm.
When I was like 8 and 9 years old, and I just loved it. I played the crap out of it. And of course, Matt did too. Our cousin Matt, he played I mean, he was literally like, his middle name was Doom. I mean, and to this day, it's his favorite game of all time. To this day, it's his favorite game.
First PC we had Windows 3.2 on it.
Oh wow!
Eventually, it was upgraded to Windows 95, but for years and years, it was Windows 3.2.
Oh wow! I never even saw that. I don't think Windows 95 was my intro.
Yeah, it predates Windows 95.
Crazy.
Our first family PC was in '96, and I remember when we got it, it didn't have Windows 95 on it. It had something else on it, so it was probably that.
3.2.
And I remember
It was literally just files across the freaking screen. Like there was no start button, there was no nothing. It was just files across the screen.
Exactly what it looked like.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was Windows 3.2. It just exactly bare bones. You scrolled through until you found the file you wanted, double clicked on it, and it launched either the game or whatever else. Opened up whatever.
So Doom is funny because Doom is technically, from what I understand, because I'm kind of going layman here. Doom is technically not even 3D. It's 2D. I mean, obviously we know that they're 2D sprites in the game, but even the environments, like they took a 2D effect and made it 3D. It's like a 3D effect with 2D image with 2D stuff. It's kind of weird. Like
right, there's
in terms
depth,
of the terminology.
There's depth to it, but anything that you interact with doesn't turn sideways. It just moves towards you or away from you, if I remember correctly. And it gets smaller as it moves away. It gets bigger as it gets closer.
Yep.
But
definitely the enemies, the backgrounds, the enemies, the items. I mean, those are obviously clearly those are 2D sprites in a 3D environment, and that's why like you said, they rotate. And when you
they don't rotate.
Well, I mean, they rotate with you, and you can see where they kind of stay flat, and you can see, almost like as instead of getting to their side, you see them rotate around and stuff, and it's like they, if you were to rotate them even further, they would disappear because how thin they are, because they're not even a full, they're not a solid image, they're just like a piece of paper basically, but in the 3D world. So, but even but John Carmack, of course, he was a genius programmer, an engineer, so he came up with it was literally from his mind. He came up with the whole engine idea with Wolfenstein and then into Doom. Like what John Carmack was responsible for those engines for id all the way up through like Doom 3 into like Rage, but then by the time Doom 2016 he had left. I think he actually did 2016 technically, but he left before it was like fully released or something. I don't know, but went to Facebook. He does like the VR stuff on Facebook, but so Doom being the beginning. Then we're all familiar with that, and then of course comes I forget the name of the engine, but it's basically the Duke Nukem the 3D Realms engine, the Duke Nukem 3D engine, and that got used a lot because there was a lot of Doom clones. There was plenty of Doom clones. They took the Doom engine, modified it, used it for different stuff in a lot of different instances. And of course, Doom has, and that's another thing. Doom has many ports, and that's where we started to see first-person shooters showing up on consoles, and then there was a lot of everybody's like, we got to get Doom on these consoles, got to get Doom on, and even to the point where Super Nintendo has a port of Doom.
Does it really?
I did not know that.
Yes, yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that at all.
Last night.
Yeah, and the guy that actually Digital Foundry did an episode the other day where they talked to the guy who engineered it, and what they did was they reverse engineered the FX chip that's in every Star Fox cart, and he repurposed it to be able to run Doom, because technically every card of Doom has an FX chip on it that enables it to run on Super Nintendo. It's not just the hardware for the Super Nintendo. They're working in conjunction with each other. Every card has that chip. It's the same way Star Fox is. That was Super Nintendo's answer to upgrading, whereas the Sega Genesis had the 32X, which was a whole peripheral that you added to the console and ran games through that. That was their answer to the same thing. Whereas Nintendo was like, we'll put an FX chip on every card, and it worked. You know, it was expensive, but it worked.
And then eventually, when they got into the 64, they had the expansion pack that I remember.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. The expansion pack opened up a few things.
Whether the expansion pack in that case was built into the cart itself.
No, just the. Oh, you saying like what? Kind of equivalent to a little bit. I mean, mostly it's mostly a processor thing. Because with the expansion pack of the 64,
it's adding
just
extra hardware to the machine, but the extra hardware is built into the cart that's being put into it versus the extra hardware being attached to the machine itself.
Yeah, just that general concept. Yeah. And so Doom, so the Super Nintendo version of Doom is all right, like for what it is, considering. I mean, it's a decently faithful port considering it's on a 16-bit console. And
I didn't think about that before.
oh yeah, I mean, and same thing with the Wolf. I showed off when we were talking about when I showed it as an example of your favorite game, Luke. I showed off Wolfenstein as one of your top ones. You know, the Super Nintendo. It's the same thing with the Super Nintendo port of that. It's the same concept. They took it and managed to convert it to Super Nintendo, and it's actually pretty decent for what it is.
Huh. I didn't know that.
So almost every console you can think of, especially throughout the 90s, has had. I mean, well, every console ever really, but every console's had a port of, but they're all different in their own ways too. So it's really that alone that's a subject in and of itself. And I've got many of those ports, and they're all different in some way. Yeah, people that like, oh, this is my favorite port. This is my favorite. Like my personal favorite port of all the old ports is the PlayStation 1 version, because it had a lot of unique things about it, and it's to this day, I'll fire it up and play it. It's a very good version of it to play.
Nice.
You know, Sega Saturn version is really cool too. 32X version, on the other hand, is a little, for what it is playable, but a little rough. And the 3DO version, I hear, is pretty bad. But still, I mean, all of them are playable. It's Doom, so it's gonna be playable. It's gonna be pretty fun. But some of them have like one that has like the music versus the other ones, or small screen versus big screen, because they would shrink the screen down to help frame rate. All sorts of differences. Really fascinating. Now, with the recent news of GoldenEye coming to Switch and Xbox, that brings that up. You go from Doom to Duke Nukem 3D, which is a whole new. Which was actually, they're like, oh, it's a Doom clone. Well, yeah, it's a Doom clone, but Duke Nukem kind of took things further. It was a different engine. Similar techniques with the engine, but still a different engine, and of course, it had the more adult content, and then people started taking that engine and making other games like Samurai Showdown and other stuff. But then here comes this. You have the PlayStation 1, the Sega Saturn doing some pretty decent first-person shooters, like other than Doom. Like there was Quake 2 on PlayStation 1, which is actually a good port of that game, if you can believe it, because that was an ambitious game at the time on PC.
Mm-hmm.
Quake 1 is on Sega Saturn. There's a Sega Saturn port of Quake 1.
I remember Quake, and I can't place it. If that makes any sense whatsoever.
Oh, you mean like just think about what it looks like?
Yeah.
And
I can't remember if I remember that from.
I always thought it was more of a Doom clone of anything, but
yeah, Quake did seem like a Doom clone, but
Here, I'm gonna do this.
I don't know if I ever played the first Quake though. I know I've played at least one of them.
I played Quake 2 more than one. So like Quake 1, and this is from id, so this is from all the Doom guys. So this was their next step from Doom, was Quake.
Okay.
This is the very next thing they did.
I'm pretty sure that my buddy had a port of this too, as well as Doom.
So like there's the classic cover, which I still love that artwork to this day.
Mm-hmm.
There's actually a version of it now on all the consoles right now. It's a really awesome modern port of it that keeps its classic visuals. It runs at 120 hertz. has full control, and there's different mods you can put on it. So Quake has a lot of ports, kind of like Doom. Quake has quite a few ports as well. Like I said, the Sega Saturn has a cool version of it that was built from the ground up on Sega Saturn. PlayStation 1 never had that. It only had Quake 2. Because Quake 2, which I love Quake 2. Quake 2 is amazing. Classic.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's the same time period. My buddy had Doom. I'm pretty sure he had a port of Quake and stuff like that all on his PC.
So Quake brought a lot to. Basically, you had Quake, and then Quake 2, then Quake 3 was multiplayer, was deathmatch focused.
Hmm.
And Quake 3 was
PvP
what
stuff?
really. Yes, Quake 3 really got dove into the PvE, which was on Dreamcast, PC. I think it was only. I want to say, yeah, Quake 3 was only on Dreamcast in terms of consoles until PlayStation 2 and stuff.
Now, was that internet or was that
Yeah.
LAN or
Both.
sitting next to your buddy, split
Yeah,
screening?
like old school
Couch.
online, I think, like early online days on PC, and then Dreamcast had online play, had a modem.
Hmm.
And I didn't ever played it. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but Dreamcast did
I was
have a
gonna say,
modem.
how did that work? Like, because we still had dial up at that point. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, no, it was yeah, it was like if you had a modem and a line, it would I mean, people would do it. It's just like Xbox Live on OG Xbox and Halo 2.
Hmm.
So, but this is kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but like so you got Quake 3 and all the Quake series. And of course, then you had Unreal as well.
Unreal Engine.
Yeah, so
Unreal Tournament.
you had
Oh,
Unreal
gotcha.
Tournament as well, but the original game.
What was the original game?
There's an original, it's just Unreal, and it was a single player. It was a single player driven game. It was before Unreal Tournament. It was the very first iteration of Unreal Engine from Epic. So this was Epic's first foot into like really becoming what it is today with the Unreal
Entering
Engine.
the ring.
Yeah, so the first game was just a solo game. It was just a single player first person shooter on PC. I'd never made it to console, but then because you had Quake going on, this is what I recall off the top of my head. You had Quake 3 and Quake Arena and all that stuff going on. So then they're like, oh, well, how about how about Unreal Tournament? This is the Dreamcast version. It was also on PS2, PC. But so Unreal Tournament kind of took what they did with their solo stuff that was just a single player game, and they said, hey, let's take it to the PvE portion of it, and then it became under Unreal Tournament, and then that actually was more popular than the single player because there's also an Unreal 2. There's Unreal 1, Unreal 2. You can see it's just this is on OG Xbox as well as PC. Atari published this at the time. It's supposed to be a decent game, but yeah. So these were single player games, and then Unreal Tournament. That's when things really shifted for what they were doing. They kind of ended up just sticking with that for the rest of the time. They didn't really put out any more. But this is my favorite, Unreal Tournament 3. That's a great.
That is a good game.
That's a fun game. Love Unreal Tournament 3.
Did Epic also create Gears of War eventually as well?
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, then Gears of War being, of course, a showcase for Unreal Engine 3 at the time, and of course on Xbox, and so they teamed up with Microsoft and then yeah, so then the Gears of War wasn't
that like the exclusive, right?
Yeah.
Microsoft. I mean, it's always been a Microsoft property, and Epic Games. But what happened was it was Epic Games, Gears of War, but then because Microsoft held on to their property and Epic Games, so that's why it turned into, well, we're just like Bungie. But you had Bungie at Halo, but then Bungie basically gave Halo to Microsoft, and that's when 343 Studios formed. So Xbox had Halo, but Bungie was out of the picture. But now you have a new studio that's exclusively Halo. Same thing with Epic Games. They're like, hey, Epic Games, we don't want to be exclusive to Microsoft, but we created Gears, and they're like, all right, well, we'll form the coalition, and then the
Mhm.
Coalition became the sole developer for Unreal. I mean, for Gears of War for Microsoft.
Gears of War.
And then Epic went off and did their own thing. So Epic, even though
Hmm.
Epic did it originally, but Coalition is who held on
Epic
to it after
kind of
they.
got out of the making games business and just started making engines and a means
Right.
of selling them.
Right,
And selling
right.
the games.
That's
like
why
the
they
Epic
just
Store.
kind of let
Hmm.
Microsoft hold on to their property, and Microsoft formed Coalition to continue making Gears of War without Epic themselves in the picture anymore. It just kind of, just like what happened with Bungie and Halo, same thing.
So I
Mhm.
thought
My
Epic.
basic understanding.
I thought Epic made Fortnite.
Yes.
Epic. Yeah, Fortnite's an Epic property.
Okay.
But how long ago did they make that?
Oh,
Oh,
forever.
God,
I don't know.
Fortnite?
I
Yeah,
never
it's
got
been a
on. I
while.
never got on the Fortnite wagon.
I remember when it was not even a battle royale. It was a zombie survival game.
Was it really?
Originally, yeah,
Yes.
that it was not meant to be what it
Whoa.
is at all. At
Oh.
It
all.
was a zombie
Huh.
survival game.
So how'd they go from zombie survival game Fortnite to a massive BR? How'd that happen?
Oh no! So originally,
somebody saw PUBG and they're like, we can totally turn this into that.
Oh,
well,
wait,
see,
so
when
it wasn't.
first
It
came
never.
out-
It was just not released as a.
No, I played it a little bit back when it was a zombie. Where you actually had to pay money for it.
Okay.
Where they sold the game.
It
It
just didn't
sucked.
do
I
really
didn't think
well.
it was that good.
Well, see that the building mechanic. Where's the bell button? The
Yeah.
entire reason that mechanic is in the game was because you were supposed to reinforce your base against zombies. That was the entire
Yep.
reason that mechanic even existed. The whole concept
Yep.
was fortify your base, fight off zombie hordes. That was the original concept of that game.
I remember the original teaser trailer that was like in 2010 or something like that, or 2012 maybe even, for it, where it was just there was a bunch of zombies attacking a random shack and these bunch of kids turning into a fortress.
So
Nice.
GoldenEye.
Okay, I did not know that at all.
Oh yeah, it's funny because when you look at old previews, it is not a battle royale originally. It kind of morphed into that based on how people were playing, and then it kind of they changed it around because honestly, it was kind of smart because it wasn't doing very well. It kind of
Oh, it was doing
released and everybody
terrible.
was like
and it kind
whatever.
of sucked.
Yeah,
I
like nobody
played like
cared.
one or two games, and I'm like,
But then they
not as good as I thought it was gonna be.
But then they changed up the game. They said, "Hey, let's kind of." They saw what people were doing, and they changed it. They took whatever, I don't know the exact story, but it seems like they kind of shifted gears right after it released, and it hit a note with people and just blew up. But that's not how it first came out, though.
Yeah.
So they took a gamble based on how popular PUBG was going, and jumped,
Yep.
and
Yeah,
and it
that's
worked
about right.
fantastic.
They saw the
for
writing
them.
on the wall, saw the game was nosediving, and immediately like free to play. It's now a battle royale. So I remember a month after I bought the game, oh, you can get this free, and they completely shift to what it was.
Huh.
yeah.
I'm like, damn, I wasted $60 on this,
Dang it!
and it was
So
that
was-
immediate.
I remember
So-
I remember playing that on N64.
Oh, GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
So GoldenEye, and it's gonna look just like this on Xbox and Switch, right? They're re-releasing the original game, but with the resolution, frame rate, and all that stuff being top, up to date. But it's the original game, which I'm fine with that. I mean, it's too bad they're not releasing that remake they did, which you could switch between the old and new graphics, like on Halo. That would have been really nice, but I guess something development, licensing hell. It continues to be in that, and that
Development
that circle.
who?
Yeah, it's like that. There's like a circle of hell, development hell. That game got put in, and it can't get out of it. So they're just taking the OG game and just releasing that with updated resolution. And
Apparently,
frame rate.
every new Xbox game is in that current hell.
Right. So, which
Steven,
I
you
love
said
this game.
You said it's available now, or it will be available?
It will be available. Here's the thing. So on Switch, it's going to be under their online expansion pack program, where you like purchase their online service and you get like all these 64 games or Sega Genesis games. It's going to fall under their 64 games packs. So I don't think you could buy it individually on Switch. I think it's going to be just available on that list of games you get by signing up to their services.
Huh.
As far as I know, that's my understanding. Now with Xbox, I'm assuming it's going to be available for individual purchase, but if you already own the Rare Replay digitally, it's just going to get added to that library for free.
What's the rare replay?
It's called Rare Replay. It's from Rare Games, which Microsoft owns, and
it's
it took
just
all
a
their old properties and put it on one game.
massive collection of just original rare games.
Yeah, and it's if you own it digitally, which it's like $7 right now, so it's dirt cheap. It'd be cheaper to do that than buy. If this does come out individually, $7 is going to be cheaper than whatever this is going to cost to buy it individually.
The remastered Perfect Darks in there, I believe, and
Yeah,
there's like
remastered Perfect
Banjo-Kazooies and anything rare.
Yep. Anything, Killer Instinct Gold, that's on there.
Yeah, that's right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 64, which is funny, which is cool because that's the 64 version, which is different from the arcade version.
Was it an arcade version?
Yeah. Killer Instinct was originally arcade.
Oh, Killer Instinct. Okay.
I thought we were still talking about
GoldenEye.
007.
Yeah.
No,
I was like,
I kind of switched to Killer Instinct for a second, but yeah. So GoldenEye, obviously. And this was the game that truly, for consoles, this was the game that really hit home with people with PvP.
Yeah.
I think I may have said PvP earlier. Split. I didn't mean to say that, but so PvP on with co-op PvP, player versus player, GoldenEye.
Yeah.
So GoldenEye really hit home with people, and that was actually for me. I didn't have enough friends around to be able to do that, so I didn't play it much in that regard. I played the missions. That's what I loved, the missions.
I played the missions too, and I could occasionally add enough people to play the split screen for up to 4 people, but
yeah,
it's not often.
People
Now,
loved it.
Was GoldenEye before Halo?
Oh yeah,
yes.
This is on the N64. This is back in 90. This is back in 97.
Was it 97?
Yeah. See,
wow.
I never had a 64. I think I went from a Super Nintendo to an Xbox.
Yeah, I had my 64.
Yep, August 97.
Matt had one, and it had a
97. That's another thing. Well, that's another thing we should talk about. We could either jump into it right now or save it for another podcast. But favorite year of gaming. I'll save it for later because it's worth reflecting on. You want to sit there and look at the year. Because mine is 97. 97 is my favorite year in all of gaming.
Pinpoint it.
Yeah, so
I can give you a time period, a couple of years bunched into one. High school.
Yeah.
High school and then just out of high school.
Yeah, 1997 was 100% my favorite year in all of gaming in my life. 97 was
growing up, even though we had N64s and the Cube and all that, we'd only ever get maybe 1 or 2 games a year.
Mm.
And just play the crap out of them.
I know how that was.
Because, jobs and 4 kids, and my dad was the only one that worked, but I really want it. That sucks.
That's most people.
Yeah.
And most people had to, I'm blessed and fortunate that I kept all my games because most people had to sell and trade their games in order to get more games. That's why people don't have collections most of the time. It's not that they never played them or had them. It's because they had to get rid of them.
I started doing that when I was buying them for myself, like in high school or just out of high school when I first got a job. But then I'd go in there with, a stack of games into GameStop or wherever else, be like, okay, that's worth, let's
Here's
see.
$3 and a whole bunch of disappointment.
Yeah, I can give you $3 cash, or I can give you $15 in store credit. Like, oh, okay, well, never mind. Maybe I'll just hang on to these. I have a bunch of games that I've just hung on to. They're somewhere, but they're all just random stuff, like nothing special.
So this was actually really, you had Doom, you had Quake, and that was all throughout the early into the mid 90s, and then you had Duke Nukem 3D, and they were all, but honestly, when it came to consoles, GoldenEye really was a spark for a uptick of genre-changing first-person shooters on consoles. Because for the longest time, PC was the king of, if it came to, you're playing first-person shooters,
Yeah,
you're playing
FPS, you're on
you're
PC,
playing
right?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So consoles, yeah, they had the ports and it was cool, and then ports that I was the only way I got to play certain games was on because but I was fortunate that like say Half-Life 1. Anybody else play Half-Life 1?
Nope.
Which
Half-Life.
was
I think
which was the Valve engine before Steam was around. Like this is like the origins of Valve, which is Steam,
I've seen the
just like
box.
Epic Games.
I'm pretty sure I played Half-Life and Half-Life 2, but it was PC.
Right. So Half-Life. Let's see. Remind myself when it came out.
It's Half-Life
Nope,
2.
that's Half-Life 2. That's Half-Life 2. I
Yeah,
want
wrong
Half-Life
one.
1 release date. No. Okay, you're drunk, Google. Okay, 98. So, I was actually at Sam's Club with my mom, and I was able to get a game, and I saw and I have it I think I have it somewhere. I have one somewhere. Yeah. Oh, no, I do. It's up there. So, um, I saw the big PC box of the first Half-Life. Thought it looked really cool. We actually had a newer computer that was able to run it. We had a Sony Vaio at the time with the Windows 98 on it,
Nice.
or yeah, 98. And wait, I'm very sure it was 98. I don't think it was. Should have been 98. So that it was actually a decent computer at the time, and I got it. This game just blew my mind at the time. Like, and it's a great game to this day. But it had a the narrative and how the atmosphere and the story and narrative and the it was just that was the first time I ever played mouse and keyboard on anything. And
Back when FPS games were story driven, not PvP driven.
right, and well,
Yeah.
this was one of the first first person shooter games to have a straight up like cinematic type narrative, even though it didn't have cutscenes. But you felt like you were in a story, you were in a cinematic world.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it, because it had, and you were, it was a living, breathing like characters in the world, and it was just it had such dripping with atmosphere. So the first one, so this was genre defining right here. This game was in the PC world. That it didn't make it to consoles until it didn't make it to consoles till PS2.
Okay, so 2000.
Yeah,
2001.
2001 or two. It came out on PS2. A port of it came, a decent port that is, uh, it was going to come on Dreamcast, but it got canceled. But I've got a copy of it on Dreamcast. Actually, it would have been good on Dreamcast, but they canceled it last second for some reason. It was done. It was fully done, and they just canceled it.
Huh.
But I have a unauthorized copy of it. So,
Of course you do.
yeah, it's like basically people got the source for it, put it on disc, and sell it on eBay, which. So I always wanted to play it on Dreamcast. I bought it off a guy, and it's cool. It's cool. It's a complete game. So Half-Life 1 comes out not long after. I've been playing GoldenEye. Then this comes out, and this blew my mind. GoldenEye, I still love GoldenEye. GoldenEye just wrecked my brain how cool that was at the time. And then Turok also blew my mind as an N64 launch title in '96. Did anybody else play Turok 1 on N64?
Is that the
I did, but I actually
Dinosaur?
played GoldenEye before I played Dinosaurs.
Dinosaur Hunter?
Yeah,
This
Turok,
is
the original.
Dinosaur Hunter, yeah.
This is one that I wanted, and I don't think I was ever I either never had the cash to buy it myself, or I was always outvoted because it was always a vote between the siblings of what we could get when it came time to buy games.
I mean, this was went to a friend's house to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Of course, it's the PC version pick right here. But so this game, and there's a great version of this you can download right now on Xbox and PS4 and PS5 and stuff. That's plays just like you remember, yet with updated frame rate and resolution. It's great. But this game absolutely blew my mind as a kid. Like, because see, Matt brought it over when we were in Hominy. He brought it over to the house because I didn't have the N64 yet. He did, and when they came to visit, he brought over the system and this, and and the first person shooter I've been playing up to that point was Doom 2.
Hmm.
So Doom, I was all over Doom 2 at that point, playing it in like something like 8 to 12 frames a second frame rate on the PC. You know, like we're talking like. I'm not even kidding. Like the weapon bob was like this: frame, 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 frame.
Yep.
On Doom, so like super low.
Best part is my video of you is literally frame, frames.
Right. So super low frame rate Doom, like OG Doom 2 on a Windows 95 PC. So, but that's all I knew. I was used to it at the time. So, and then here comes a Turok on the N64, which is a if I remember right. Let's see. This was a. I don't think it was 60. I don't think it's 60 FPS. Or wait. No, actually, it is 60 FPS. Yeah. So Doom.
What's it really?
Obviously, it has a lot of slowdown, but when nothing too much is going on, you're just kind of basically moving around. It's a 60 FPS game, but there's a lot of fog. But it still is a very smooth at the time, very smooth game. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. Let's see. I'm very sure it is. As long as nothing too much is going on. It obviously slows down very easily. It's not stable. But when you're like looking at a corner, nothing's going on, just smooth it. Let's see. Curious if there's like anybody an analysis. They're talking about all sorts of other ports. I'd have to look, if I played it and looked at it, I would be able to tell you just by looking at it. But so this game for me, if I had to say, I mean, obviously the graphics were really good at the time. I mean, it was on the consoles. This game was pretty genre defining in my opinion. The graphics and the guns, the over the top explosive crazy guns. You literally had like mini nukes on this.
Yes, yeah, I remember that.
And it was just this is one of them. Like this fighting a T-Rex, basically a nuclear level explosion you could set off with it, and it was just so cool. And then GoldenEye came along as obviously a more realistic one the next year. And then GoldenEye had, here's the thing though, Turok, there was no reloading. Doom, no reloading. No ADSing, and there's no aim down sights, no reloading. And Turok was the same way. Hip fire only, no ADSing, and no reloading.
GoldenEye was you had to reload.
Yeah, see, and GoldenEye, and I'm just talking from a console perspective because PC probably had, I don't know, but no, funny enough, Duke Nukem had some reloading animation. Duke Nukem had pumping the shotgun. Duke Nukem had popping out the mag and putting a new mag in the pistol. So Duke Nukem kind of brought some of that detail early on, for a Doom clone type of game, but with where you had 2D sprite hands and guns. They were 2D sprites, but GoldenEye had like, well, actually, even GoldenEye didn't have reloading animations. The gun would drop off the screen, you hear it reload, and it popped up. Yeah, that was it, right? But GoldenEye did have, like bullets coming out of the gun, bullet holes on the wall. It had everything else going on with detail. Very good detail in every other regard. It was Perfect Dark, and with that engine, that is Perfect Dark in 2000, where it had alt fire, reloading animations, so now Half-Life, on the other hand, in '98, which was in between, Half-Life had full-on reloading animations, but still no ADSing though. See, that's the thing. Notice how all these old first-person shooters didn't have aim-down sights for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Half-Life didn't. GoldenEye didn't.
That's actually like a Call of Duty introduction.
Let's see. All right. When it comes to like other iconic early first-person shooters, like Medal of Honor on the PlayStation 1, then that's where Medal of Honor started, was PlayStation 1.
I was gonna say Medal of Honor and the first COD on PC.
So Medal of Honor was all same way, no AD, no straight. I mean, it had zoom in and stuff, but not but still no straight up like.
It's different between zoom in and ADSing.
Right. So when I say ADSing, that means you are looking down the iron sights or sight of your weapon. You know, not
Looking down the barrel of the
yeah,
firearm.
looking down the barrel. Like so. Uh, it was really, it was probably the I'm assuming the original Call of Duty, the very first Call of Duty on PC only at the
I
time.
never played the original, so I couldn't.
I didn't either. I only played a demo of a console port, but that was like that was a while after it came out on PC. But Medal of Honor Frontline had ADSing, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure.
Frontline? No. PS2? Yeah.
I think so.
Played the shit out of that game. I never had that ADSing.
Oh, you know what? No. You're right. Even you're right. The M1 Garand, it just zoomed in, and you were pow, pow, pow. Now you know it only had the sniper scope.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Oh, that's right. You know what? I know you're right because the PlayStation 3 port.
He knows he's right too.
Yeah. Oh, no. Because for a second I was, what I was thinking of. There's a PlayStation 3 port of Frontline where they added ADSing to it.
Ah.
They actually modified it. So no, you're absolutely correct. The original did not. They modified it on the PlayStation 3 port of it. There's a PlayStation 3 exclusive port of Medal of Honor Frontline.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I know my PS2 model. Like,
oh yeah,
no,
absolutely.
ADSing. I played a lot of that game. Is it a feature I just missed a lot, or something's wrong here?
Oh yeah, no. You're 100% right. They're the only ADSing of any way, shape, or form was aiming down the scope. But that doesn't. I don't count that because that's just the screen goes from side of the gun to target on your screen. I don't consider that has been around for a while. Sniping that's.
Oh yeah, even Halo did that.
Yeah, like rocket launchers, snipers. That's not new.
Mm-hmm.
So
the pistol with its random zoom in.
Yeah. Well, even like GoldenEye and Perfect Dark had like.
Yep.
Well, you know what's funny? GoldenEye, it didn't zoom in like we're talking about with that. It just zoomed in really far to the point you couldn't see the gun very much, and you had the target on screen. You moved. It was just really zoomed in, but it still didn't change like the position of anything. It was just zoomed in. So at least with GoldenEye, and Perfect Dark, you actually got sniper sights.
Yeah.
But still not a full ADS or anything on the gun and stuff. It just turned the screen into a sight of the sniper, and with the alien gun, and it's kind of like the alien gun where you can see
the far sight.
Yeah, the far sight. Yeah.
I still remember the name of it.
Yep.
Another game I played the crap out of. I loved.
Perfect Dark is a legendary game. See, and that was the evolution from GoldenEye, obviously, which I remember just like seeing Joanna Dark like pop out the mag, put a new one, cock the gun back with a pistol. I was like, oh my god, this is just not. This is a whole new level of deep.
That's why. Is that game also had cutscenes in it too?
Yeah, cutscene. I mean, it had cutscenes. It had voice. It had voice acting, which there was none of that in GoldenEye. It was all text and it had cutscenes ish.
Well, it had but no voiceover, and it was usually it was like a 10-second long cutscene type deal.
Yeah, like Perfect Dark was a whole evolutionary step from GoldenEye in terms of that engine and the development, what they did with it, and so all these things are adding up to what, and then of course Halo, which that redefined the console shooter because that was a console exclusive when it first came out. So PC was like, what? But we're the kings of FPSs. Like you're not allowed to have cool things.
Xbox, a Microsoft company, said, nah.
Yeah, like early, so at the very beginning, it was like, no, you had to have an Xbox if you want to play Halo, which was the hottest.
Originally, what you call it? The Halo was originally developed for Mac.
Yeah, that's the funny thing about it. It was originally being developed for Mac at the earliest days of it. And
literally,
earliest days,
Steve Jobs' project, and then flip.
Yep.
How bad do you think that would have fallen on its face then? Do you think Halo would have ever been its own thing if it were released as a Mac exclusive?
Oh no.
Yeah, I don't think we ever talk about it again.
Yeah. No, it would have went the way of
Halo 5 or Halo Infinite War. or whatever it is, Halo Infinite.
God.
Nah, I think it would have gone the way of the dodo bird, but
So Halo brought along like, oh man, like you know, for me, some people don't. I don't think people give Halo One enough credit with how like epic it was. Like the big open areas where you just fight, shooting.
big,
like,
massive area,
yeah, big
two-player
massive area,
co-op,
the two-player
your
co-op.
friend in the back of the Warthog. No other game did
Oh,
that.
it was so cool, and the physics of the vehicles, like when you shoot a Banshee out of the sky and it comes crashing down, it can land right in front of you, and if you're not careful, on you, and you know you see the elite fly out of it, and it blows up, and just the physics and detail and chaos and destruction. I mean, dude, like Halo just
dropping a crap ton of grenades at the base of a Scorpion tank and setting it off with a rocket launcher and watching it fly across the map,
right.
and then trying to stick it as it's coming down with the sticky grenades to get it to bounce even more. Because the the vehicles were indestructible. You could be killed out of them, I believe,
Yeah.
but the vehicles were indestructible.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
in-
that was
in the
actually
first
I
Halo
actually
event.
preferred
Mhm.
that. I missed the vehicle. I missed the Warthog being indestructible. But you know what's funny? Amongst all these things, and I played the PlayStation 2 version of this, and it's actually great. I played the PlayStation 2. It's like a just an updated version of the PlayStation 2 on my PS5. It's a PS4 game. Red Faction. That
Oh, yeah,
was a
yeah.
really cool game that came out on PC and then got ported to PS2. Only got ported to PS2 in terms of console.
Yeah.
That game, you could literally dig a hole, dig a hole anywhere, almost anywhere, as long as it wasn't like certain indestructible surfaces. But any like rock surface, you could literally take a rocket launcher and dig as far as the memory could take. Like that game, that they really went hard with the destructible environments. That game really went for it for
Like
those
mid
days.
fight, I don't want to play anymore. You just turn around and dig a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
You just hide down to the hole. I
If
remember
you weren't
doing that.
careful, if you shot a hole in the ground, I mean, it was hard to do it because you would blow yourself up. But like, yeah, and you also had like C4 type things you could.
Yeah, the
I mean,
C4.
you could get yourself in a hole you couldn't get back out
Oh, yeah, I did.
of. So it was just, yeah, Red Faction was great. That's a great game. That's a classic.
They never could quite get the sequels right.
No, yeah, unfortunately the sequels are kind of mediocre, but the first one's great. I love the first one. It was a cool story too. You know, I mean, it was obviously it pulled a pretty good chunk from Total Recall, but it's about these abused. They go over there
Minors.
seeking a better life and a good job, and they're just used and abused and slave driven miners on Mars, and you end up fighting your way back out of it. And it's like it's like a miners' rebellion against the corporation that are slave driving them and abusing them. Great game, really cool. Good guns,
What
the
game is
destructible
this again?
environments.
Red Faction.
Yeah, Red Faction, right here.
I don't
Great
know
game.
that I
It's
ever got my
classic.
hands on that one.
It's only on PS2 in terms of
Red Faction 1, Red Faction
consoles.
2 was also on PS2. Not as good.
Yeah, like I've got the
Then there's a 360 game, and then there's a
yeah, they started going third person. They kind of changed up the series. Those are cool,
Yeah.
but for me, it always goes back to
the open
original.
world one.
But yeah, so and obviously Call of Duty brought, just to wrap it up. Call of Duty, obviously, I'm not sure. I'm not a 100% very, 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 very first. Kind of like how Gears of War.
I don't know if it's the first ADSer, but it was the first ADSer I ever came across.
Yeah,
I know I was late to the
Mhm.
game because I first saw the ADS when I first started playing original Modern Warfare. That was the first time I'd ever seen it.
it
Not
was certainly
saying
in.
it didn't
2.
predate that. Oh, it might have been 2 as well.
It was, yeah, because so that was one of the earliest I remember. The Call of Duty 2 was a 360 launch title that was the day one purchase for me, and that was my very first game on 360 was that, and it has ADSing all throughout. But
Oh no, the call's about to end.
but alrighty. But thanks for joining.
Oh.
We just kind of
Thanks for
tip of
joining.
the iceberg with FPSs.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.